The sound of a deadbolt sliding into place is surprisingly quiet, but in the silence of a damp basement, it sounds like a gunshot. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, my hand still resting on the cold railing. "Leo," I called out, my voice hitching. The door jammed. "Honey, open it up." No answer. Only the sound of retreating footsteps, heavy ones belonging to my son, and the sharp, rhythmic clicking of Sarah's designer heels. Then, a muffled laugh. It was a sound stripped of all the warmth I'd spent 30 years trying to cultivate in him. Beside me, my husband Arthur didn't move. He didn't pound on the door. He just stood there in the dim light of a single hanging bulb, his shadow stretching long and jagged against the concrete floor. "It's over, Martha," he said softly. His calm was more terrifying than the lock. The mask finally fell off. We should have seen it coming. For 2 years, Leo and Sarah had lived in the east wing of our home. It started as a temporary move after Leo lost his firm, but temporary soon became a permanent occupation. I watched the subtle erosion of our lives. First, it was the mail, bank statements arriving opened, then not arriving at all. Then, it was the small gaslighting. "Mom, you already took your medicine," Sarah would say with a pitying smile, hiding the bottle in her pocket. "Dad, you forgot you promised Leo the car today." They were trying to build a case of incompetence. They wanted the house, a sprawling Victorian we'd restored with our own hands, and they wanted the estate. But they didn't want to wait for us to die. They wanted us gone, I whispered, clutching Arthur's arm. "They think we're just two old people waiting for the end." Arthur finally looked at me, a grim smile touching his lips. "They forgot I was a structural engineer for 40 years. A man doesn't build a house like this without knowing every hollow space and every weak point." He led me to the back of the basement, past the old furnace. He pulled aside a heavy, rusted metal shelving unit that looked like it hadn't moved since 1994. Behind it wasn't just a wall. It was a reinforced service hatch I'd never noticed. "I saw them meeting with that shady lawyer in the driveway last month," Arthur explained as he worked a hidden latch. "I knew they were planning to forge the power of attorney. So, I started a little project of my own." Behind the hatch was a small, dry compartment. Inside sat a laptop connected to a series of hidden microphones Arthur had installed in the floor joists of the living room weeks ago. He pressed play. The audio was crystal clear. We heard the clinking of glasses directly above our heads. To the new owners, Sarah's voice rang out, sharp and celebratory. "How long should we leave them down there before we call the wellness check team? A day? 2? Long enough for them to look confused and dehydrated," Leo's voice replied. It was hollow, devoid of the boy I used to tuck into bed. "The doctor already thinks Dad is slipping. Once they're committed, the signature on the deed won't even matter. I'll have total control." I felt a coldness settle in my chest that had nothing to do with the basement air. My son wasn't just stealing our money. He was stealing our dignity. He was willing to let us rot in the dark to expedite his lifestyle. "We aren't going out through the hatch yet," Arthur said, his eyes glinting with a hard, righteous fire. "We're going to let them finish their celebration. I want them to feel completely safe." We waited for 3 hours. We listened to them move furniture. We listened to them plan which walls they would knock down. When the house finally went quiet and the upstairs lights dimmed, we moved. We exited through the service hatch which led to the old coal chute in the backyard. We didn't go to the neighbors. We went to the garage, where Arthur kept a secondary set of server backups. By 2 a.m., our lawyer and a contact at the precinct had received a digital file titled The Inheritance Plot. Part 6, the morning after. At 7 a.m., Leo and Sarah came downstairs to the kitchen, likely preparing their discovery of us in the basement. They were wearing robes, looking relaxed, acting as if the world belonged to them. They stopped dead when they saw the kitchen table. Arthur and I were sitting there, drinking coffee. 2 officers stood by the refrigerator. Our lawyer was leafing through a stack of forged documents we'd recovered from Leo's desk while they slept. "The basement door is fixed, Leo," I said, my voice as steady as a heartbeat. "But I think you'll find the doors at the county jail are much harder to open." Sarah tried to scream, to claim we were trespassing, but the officers simply held up a digital recorder. Her own voice filled the room. "Once they're committed, the house is ours." As they were let out in handcuffs, Leo finally looked at me. For a second, I saw the little boy again, the one who was afraid of the dark. "Mom," he pleaded. "It was her idea. I didn't mean it." The lock worked both ways, Leo, I replied. You chose which side to stand on. The house is quiet now. It's too big for just the two of us, but every room is filled with truth. We didn't just survive a betrayal, we cleared out the rot. And as I walk past the basement door, I don't feel fear. I just reach out and touch the wood, thankful that the foundation of this home, and our lives, was built on something much stronger than greed.